Yes, at the recent Strategic Growth Forum in South Africa, you mentioned some of your development initiatives, some of which you have mentioned today, and also especially in the area of agriculture. And I want you to actually explain that further, particularly in the context of rice and cassava production, which is very important. And of course, it's linkage, the linkage of that sector, the agricultural sector, to the independent power services that you also mentioned. Can you explain this further and then also draw the linkage? How is the independent power initiative central to the programs that you have for the state?
Right now, it is the most central thing that we can achieve. In fact, I would go as far as saying that once we're able to achieve independent power 24/7 in Ekiti State, you can imagine a growth rate that is out of this world. Because industry is dead in our state precisely because there's no power. And for agro processing, it is a sensitive sector of the economy. Just as we're encouraging external players to come, and a lot of them are coming. The Dutch agri trading companies in Ekiti, Veggie Fresh Cassava is in Ekiti. You have a whole range of players that are coming in. But if we're going to achieve the purpose of exports, because we're also linking that to our cargo airport and our export conditioning center, you cannot have an export conditioning center that functions on generator capacity. It is something that you need unfailing power supply for, so that storage, which is the bane of agriculture in Nigeria today, is addressed effectively, and you can take these things out seamlessly, both to the local market and to the international market. But it's a long-term vision, which is why we're looking at it both in terms of providing power through our dams. We have a number of dams in Ekiti that have the capacity of achieving power supply for the various areas that they cover. But we're also interested, and we've been working with the company now that has won the distribution privatization initiative in the power reform, to put in place both generating as well as transmitting capacity for the existing industry. If we're able to tackle that, because it is small and compact, it can become the model. It's not Lagos that is difficult to, dealing with 20 million people and dealing with 2.73 million people, they're not in the same league. And with the transparency that has been established and the focus of government, if we have power supply that is constant, that is predictable, a lot more people would want to come and do business in Ekiti, because the human capital is also there. That's one advantage we have. We have a literate population. Then we need to reorientate to get beyond just earning degrees that really don't have much value, but skill development is key to what we want to do with them.
Yes, I was actually going to take on the issue of human capital development. You've talked about social services, you've talked about the agri sector, you've talked about generating power. The state, of course, is known in Nigeria as the state of professors. With the crisis in the education sector, when you came into power, what have you been able to do to recreate the tradition of education, the excellence in education in the state?
It's been tough, I must admit, but it's an area in which we've also made significant progress. One of the very first things I did when I became governor was to organize a stakeholder summit, an education stakeholder summit that brought together all manner of players in the field, teachers union, academics, parents, students, you name it. And a number of products emerged from that forum, because certain areas were highlighted as in dire need of reform. The first was the merger of the three so-called universities that we had in the state. It was a tough decision because these universities are in various communities where the votes came from, and to remove them and then centralize the university, which is now a model. I mean, the National Universities Commission is now recommending Ekiti as the place to follow, instead of just having these mushroom schools that are masquerading as university. I mean, you come to a place like this, for goodness sake, and you compare it with what is called university in Nigeria, and you see that we still have a long way to go. So we did that, ensured that the recruitment process of the Vice Chancellor was transparent, and within the space of 18 months, because all of this happened within the sort of 18 months of being in office, Ekiti State University's record has moved from 76 on the Webometric indices to 19. And that's 18 months. And there's still a lot to do. The fact that I've also demystified the relationship between the visitor of the university and faculty and the students has also helped, with regular interaction with the students, with regular visits and lecture on campus myself. They know that I am very, very interested in what happens to the education sector. But we've also extended that beyond the university. In fact, the crisis in the education sector has to be tackled from the basic level. Because no matter what you do at the university level, if you don't fix what's rotten at the basic level, it's not going to amount to much. And having been a product of that excellent education in that same state, I know that we can return to what used to obtain. Which means focusing on the conditions of the schools themselves. In 2 years, we refurbished and renovated all schools in Ekiti.
All schools?
All schools.
No exceptions?
As I speak to you now, every single school has been fixed and furniture put in all of them. No child in Ekiti studies under a tree or under an unconducive environment. And I'm saying all, I'm not saying a few. And having done that, we've also, at the last count, supplied, I think, about 35,000 of our 100,000 computers to kids in schools. And all their teachers have been given computers. But we're not really stopping at that as well. Quality assurance, particularly in relation to teachers, has been a major problem. And one of the ways we've gone about that was to stop the artificial separation of junior secondary school and senior secondary. We've merged them back to what they used to be in the old times, for better supervision, for better management of schools, and for increasing the allowance that we give per child. We're in the process of releasing some of the schools back to their original owners, just like my friend Peter B has done in Anambra State. Of course, we don't have as many private schools as they do. I mean, the missions have majority of the schools in Anambra, the Catholics and the Anglicans, but we have some, and some of them are yearning to have their schools back, because many of those mission schools still remain the best schools that we have now. Also, we are subjecting the teachers to, because even when you fix all the schools and you put all the right infrastructure and you give the students instructional materials, what happens to the teacher who is in charge of the students? That is the greatest challenge we now face. And that's the area we're concentrating the bulk of our attention. How do we get the teachers to do the job of what they're paid to do? Teach students, and teach students in an accountable manner. If you're a teacher in any of the school here, you take a regular annual license. It's like a medical doctor practicing or a lawyer. And you only do that after you've gone through, I mean, a brush-up regularly, so that they know that you're still fit and proper for the job you've been employed to do. And that's what we introduced, a teacher's needs assessment, which has generated so much furore. I'm sure you heard what happened in the case of Ekiti.